Mr. Young. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the list is ordinance number 1644, the Stonehill Plaza zoning map amendment. Do we have the applicant here? Would you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and tell us why we should approve your request?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Wilson with Lowndes, Drostick, Doster, Cantor, and Reed, 215 North Eola Drive. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, who is the contract purchaser for the property. As you saw in your staff report, the current future land use is already office. The underlying zoning is R1. We're requesting this change to make the zoning consistent with the future land use. To the east and south, the zoning is, the comp plan and the zoning are already downtown mixed use and commercial. To the west is office, and to the north is low density residential. You may have also noticed in your staff report, they show the location of the well field that's on this piece of property, and it has required protection limits that really constrain what can happen on this property. Within those zones in which the well field protection touches, you can only use this for open space, stormwater, and parking. And when you look through your comp plan, the proposal to change the zoning is consistent with the city's policies and goals for providing viable mixture of compact, walkable uses, its desire to increase its office and commercially viable property. I think the words that the comp plan uses is to increase non-residential lands. And also, you all know this process well. This is just a rezoning. Prior to development, a site development order must be approved by the city for the specific development to occur. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. If there's anyone from the audience that has any concerns, I'd just like an opportunity to address those.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? Thank you. May we hear from staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request to amend the city's official zoning map to change the zoning district of approximately 2.76 acres from residential R1 to office commercial OC. The subject properties are located on the east side of Lake Jessup Avenue and on the south side of Clont Street. The owner is W. Rex Clont of Clont's Farm Incorporated, and the applicant is Dave Axel. The purpose of the zoning map amendment is to change the existing zoning district from residential R1 to office OC zoning district consistent with the office future land use designation. The existing residential zoning district is not consistent with the subject property's office future land use designation. The proposed office commercial OC zoning district is consistent with the property's future land use designation. The applicant wishes to designate the subject properties with the office commercial zoning district. Office commercial zoning district is a neighborhood commercial and office district designed to accommodate the low intensity commercial uses with limited traffic generation and movement. The subject properties consist of 2 lots totaling 2.76 acres. The intended uses include office and retail uses. Portions of the subject property are located within the wellfield zone protection zones. To provide a little background about the wellfield protection zones, there are 3 different ones. We have the primary zone, the second zone, and the wellfield protection zone. The primary zone of protection shall extend for a radius of 75 feet from an existing portable well. The secondary shall extend for 100 feet radius from the existing portable well. And then the 500 feet shall extend from a radius from an existing portable well. Parcel 1 is located within the 75-foot primary and 100-feet secondary wellfield protection zone. Within the primary zone, the following uses are allowed. Uses associated with water supply systems, open space, recreational facilities that are not hazardous waste generators and will not be served by a septic tank, residential dwelling units per parcel, provided the property will not contain a septic tank, accessory structures, utility lines and road driveways, parking lots, pipes, stormwater conveyance, and irrigation systems associated with permitted uses provided. However, sewer pipes connecting to the municipal sewer system shall be constructed in a manner to have secondary containment as approved by the city engineer, consistent with the sound and general accepted engineering practices and principles. Within the secondary zone of protection, sanitary hazards that pose a potentially high risk as defined by Rule 62-555.3123 Florida Administrative Code are prohibited and unlawful. Both Parcels 1 and Parcel 2 are located within the 500 feet radius of the wellfield protection zone. The following are prohibited within the 500 feet radius: landfills, mines, egg production facilities, or commercial animal feeding operations, motor vehicle sales and services and facilities for the bulk storage, handling or processing of materials on the list of highly hazardous chemicals, toxics, and reactives as set forth at 29 CFR Section 19110.119. The city's environmental consultant reviewed the zoning map amendment and noted that site development, the site plan must comply with uses allowed or prohibited in each wellfield protection zone per the Land Development Code, Section 15.6 Wellfield Protection. City Council will conduct a public hearing on Monday, December 5, 2016, to consider ordinance number 1644. It is recommended that the local planning agency recommend adoption of ordinance number 1644. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. Are there questions of staff?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Sheridan?
if Parcel 1 is within the primary zone with the allowable uses in the primary zone, how does changing this to office fit within those constraints?
Well, at their site plan, they wouldn't be able to build anything that's not does not meet the requirements of the welfare protection section within the Land Development Code.
Understood, but my question is if we rezone this office cannot go on this property.
There will be some requirements that would need to be met in order for them to build in that area.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Office can go on the property. It cannot go within the 75-foot zone, but it can go within the other zones. If you'll look on page 2 of your staff report, 2 of 5, you'll see that in the 75-foot zone, which is the primary zone of protection,
Right.
it prohibits, it shows you the only uses that are allowed within that 75 feet.
Right.
But if you look at the secondary zone, which is 100-foot, and then also the 500-foot, it tells you what is prohibited. So you can still have other uses in the other 2 zones. It's just the first zone, the only uses that are allowed would be the uses associated with water supply systems, open space, parks, playgrounds, playing courts, open air shelters, and other similar recreational facilities that are not hazardous waste generators and will not be served by a septic tank. And then you can only have residential as well on that property, but no other development besides the accessory structures. If you look at 4, you can have accessory structures, utility lines, roads, driveways, parking lots. That's the 75-foot. So it limits the type of uses that can go within that zone. If you look at the secondary zone of protection, it just says what types of uses are prohibited. So you can have an office building, or you can have any type of building as long as it does not pose a potentially high risk,
So
as
as long as
defined
it's not
by
encroaching on the 100 or the 75?
On the
Outside of
75.
Outside of those zones, it's fine.
outside of the 75, yes.
Any more questions of staff?
No.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. I have a couple of requests here. The first one is Jim Ford. You come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I have some handout materials.
Okay, you know that anything you hand out, we keep?
Sure.
Okay.
First of all, I don't know. It seems to me there's a problem with your legal notice here. This is a sign that was placed on the corner of South Lake Jessup and Clant Street. By the way,
I'm sorry,
Jim Ford.
I need to interrupt you just a minute. I still need you to state your name and
That's what I
address
was
for the
just
record.
about to do. Jim Ford, 156 Winding Oaks Lane, Oviedo. This indicates property on the west side of South Lake Jessup, which is in error. The property is on the east side of South Lake Jessup. And the ordinance that's accompanying your staff report, and I don't know if this ordinance has been advertised or not, but this ordinance says the same thing. It is on the west side of South Lake Jessup. So those things are in error, and I believe it to be a legal flaw in the process as far as public notice. It's one of the forms of public notice. So shall I continue with my presentation, or is this going to be tabled?
No, sir, you need to continue with the
Okay.
presentation.
I'm concerned about the land use issues here. I understand that the rezoning needs to take place to be consistent with the plan, but there's about 3 zoning categories that fall within the office commercial segment. And one of those, which I believe is far more compatible, is the RP, residential professional, because that's right next to the residential area to the north, which is Whispering Woods subdivision. If you read under section 4.4 of the RP, it talks about specifically that this is, and it's under the commercial and office district, so it complies with the plan and allows them to proceed with their overall plan and include this property. But it's a lot more comforting to the residents to be talking about RP rather than OC, because OC allows repair shops, retail sales, churches, convenience stores, daycare centers, banks, group homes, etc. That RP does not allow. But if you read the RP, it says it's to accommodate a mixture of residential professional office uses primarily in areas that are no longer viable for single-family use, which is the case here, because of high traffic volumes or other market factors. These are often transition zones between arterials or intense commercial districts and residential districts. This is far more fitting from a compatibility standpoint for this property as opposed to the OC. As far as I think you need to consider the fact that you have residential areas to the north and to the west, and existing ones to the east, although I understand that the comp plan doesn't call for that in the future. But there's a trip generation study, but you know, I don't understand the significance of it if it doesn't say where the trips are going to take place by virtue of origin destination studies or whatever. I don't know what the benefit is, because we have plans. I think originally was proposed a parking lot to come out on the Clants. Well, I don't know how many of you have been down Clants, but Clants isn't much more than an alley. It's only 25 feet of right-of-way, about the west half of it, going toward Central. And furthermore, the city classifies it as a local street. It cannot be a local street. It doesn't even meet the standards for a local street. It doesn't have a 50-foot right-of-way for the entirety. So the city doesn't even know the current traffic count on the street. The city doesn't know what the expected capacity is of it. So I don't know how you can consider allowing any parking lot along there to even access on the Clants, because it's already probably below capacity, or exceeding capacity rather now. I think I would take care with regard to a pond adjacent to your well, because in these shallow aquifer recharge areas, your water table follows the topography. It follows the hills.
Time's up.
Is my time up? Okay. I'd like for you to look at this bioswale as a possibility there, which I handed out to you, rather than a pond, because you wouldn't be penetrating the surface elevation.
Before we go any further with the public hearing, Deborah, can you address the issue of the incorrect information in the notice?
We will have to take a look at that. I don't have the notice here with me tonight. We will have to take a look at it. And then we will also have to send an email to the city attorney and request his opinion. So I would recommend that you all go ahead and take action on it tonight. If we need to bring it back before the board, we will bring it back before the board.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Pollack.
I would actually choose to do the other and table this until this issue's been resolved. I don't want to take action on this until we can determine if the public hearing posting was actually correct.
If it needs to be, if it needs to come back before the board, we're going to have to re-advertise it again. So we're going to have to go through the public hearing process again if the advertisement will require that we come back before LPA. So if the advertisement was wrong and the city attorney provides an opinion that we need to do the public hearing again, then we're going to have to come back before the board. But if the city attorney says that we do not have to do another public hearing, you will have already taken action on the item.
Madam
Chair.
Mr. Lopez?
I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Pollack. If it is an erroneous declaration, then we really have no bearings. I mean, until we get an attorney, I don't want to move on an action until after the attorney looks at it. I'm sorry. I mean, if it's wrong, it's wrong, and we need to make sure that the public people have the right to be represented. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. I move for motion to table this pending attorney review.
I'll second that.
It's not.
You just
For your-
made a motion.
Well,
so-
I recommend making a motion, but
Well, are you going to make the
Yeah, I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Okay. And are you going to make it table it to a date certain?
when can the attorney review it? And I guess have it at our next meeting? So,
The next meeting isn't until
November 15th?
November 15th. That's the next meeting. So we will have time to re-advertise if we need to re-advertise. But if we don't need to re-advertise, then the applicant will have to wait until November 15th.
Deborah, what's the difference in a motion to table this item as opposed to a motion to continue it? If we just continue it to the next meeting and it has to be re-advertised, then anything we do here tonight is null and void anyway, correct?
Right.
The only, Madam Chair,
Mr. Pollack?
the only other option I can think of is if we take a recess and staff can get a hold of the attorney to determine if this is valid or not. Is that a possibility?
That's an option. We can see if we can reach the city attorney at this time.
Did you get a copy of the handbook?
We're going to go look at it.
Why don't we take a 10-minute recess,
Okay.
and then we'll decide where to go from there.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a motion on the table. Do we need to? I guess we can recess.
Okay, we're up. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Ms. Pierre, I understand that the city attorney has decided that this does have to be re-advertised?
Yes, ma'am. The city attorney said that it does need to be re-advertised.
Okay. We have before us a motion to table. And Mr. Lopez, remind me, that was to a date certain?
date certain, I think Deborah said we do
November
November
15th?
15th.
Okay. And we have a second on that, Mr. Sheridan?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe there's any discussion on a motion to table. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? This matter is tabled and will be called back up on November 15th. I want to say this. I want to apologize to all of you who came out tonight on behalf of the city. This is obviously a mistake that was made in the posting. Certainly those are things we try not to do. We certainly don't want to inconvenience any of you by having to come out twice. We appreciate the fact that you wanted to come and tell us your opinion about a project. It makes a big difference in how this board views the projects that are before us, because we take your opinions into consideration. So we appreciate you coming tonight, and maybe we'll see you again on November 15th. It will be at 6:30 in these chambers. And Mr. Ford, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We appreciate that. Okay, the next matter on the agenda are discussion items. We don't have anything specific. Does any of the board members have something we need to discuss? Okay, our future meeting dates are the November 8th has been canceled, and it'll be November 15th instead. November 22nd has been canceled. We only have one meeting set in December for December 13th, and the December 27th meeting has been canceled. Is there anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Pollard?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.